shit off the old scarecrow. This house is falling down, the baby's bellies are broken out. It could rain for a month or more, we'd still be stuck in a drought. Hello, eyes and man, they might hold out for the rookie, but I burned the woodbound.
Welcome back to the Boundary Corner podcast. Along with Brian Siegler, this is Curtis Wilson.
What's going on, man?
It's episode 3, man. How you been?
Oh, good, man. Good. Weekend treated me nice. Got to make some barbecue and enjoyed that. Sent some over to my pops in the new place. So it was a good time. What about you?
We wrapped up basketball season. Played some baseball with the kids in the neighborhood. Getting ready for that in about a month here. So nice, relaxing weekend. Plus, the weather. Sunday was gorgeous. Saturday was freezing, man. And, watched some hoops, a little bit of golf. But overall, great weekend. And speaking of this weekend, we had the combine going on.
Oh, yep.
Brian, have you just looked at what the next 60 days hold as sports fans?
Man, you got to give me the rundown because right now we're still in that, it's not football season, even though we got the XFL right now. So you got to give me the rundown and see what we got to look forward to.
All right, so we just had the combine, right?
Yep.
Which we're going to talk with Dalton Keene in a few minutes on that. All right, starting in a couple weeks, you get the conference tournaments, basketball tournaments.
There we go.
All over the place. Then the madness starts.
Hurleys,
exactly. I'm the golf nerd. The players in the Masters are on the forefront. We got opening day in baseball.
One of the best days of the year right there.
Great day of the year. We got spring football happening. Hokies start on the 21st. Spring games are happening.
Spring game is going to be tape delayed and on television this year.
Which is awesome because I know you're going to be out of town. I don't know if I'm going to stay up to 10:30 and watch it, but just knowing we can see the team play, it's going to be awesome. Definitely will maybe get some eyes on how the new alignments and stuff on defense, who's playing, who's not. And then we're going to cap it off in the 60 days with the NFL draft, so kind of football season begins again. So the next 60 days, anybody telling you, oh, there's really nothing on, there's nothing sports to do. No, there's so much. So, head out to your favorite bar, watch the tournaments. If you get a chance, we're probably not going to be able to go down to Blacksburg. Spring game is one of the best experiences that you can go to.
It's so cool. It's so cool. Just getting to see the players up close, getting to talk to them for a little bit after the game, getting to see all the alumni and the old faces come back into town and cut it up a little bit. It's nothing but a good time.
It is, and it's worth it if you're a Virginia Tech fan and you have that day available. If it's just you and a buddy, do that. If you can take the family and kids, take it. Hit downtown up, do a little tailgating, go into the stadium. It's free, and then get on the field afterwards. And like Brian said, the program really pushes the players to kind of stay around. When we went, 5 years ago now?
Yeah.
2015. I mean, we met Sam, Adonis, all these guys who were stars on the team, and then the Edmonds brothers, all three of them should post that picture.
Yeah, because Trey came back for the game.
Exactly. It's just an experience worth going to. And these other sporting events, watch them, enjoy them. It's a lot of fun. But the first thing that really kicked this off was the combine. And, man, our boy Dalton, Rambo.
He tore it up.
Absolutely did. Had a great showing. To me, his tape doesn't lie. He is a football player. I think what he did for himself is probably solidified that he's going to get drafted.
He definitely solidified he's going to get drafted, and he made a push to say, I might be able to get taken at the back end of day 2 if the right fit is there. And I think that's something that we didn't really think was even going to be a possibility going into it, just because of his skill set being a little more niche. But I think putting all those measurables together, I think maybe caught some eyes of some of those teams that may say, hey, we might want to take a chance on this guy, even in the third round or something like that, if the the timing is right.
Yeah. Well, let me do this. For those who, if you haven't seen it on Twitter or went to the NFL comments, I'm going to do a quick rundown of what he did. 21 reps in the bench, which I think was fourth. 4.7 140, which was third. Correct me if I'm wrong, Vine. His worst event was the vertical leap at 34 inches. I think he was like 9th or 10th. 3-cone, 7.07. Again, he was in that top 5 range. Now, the 2 events he really excelled at, the broad jump, 125 inches, which was best among the tight ends.
Yep.
And the one for me where it showed elite in all forms, because he is on the first 2 pages, top of the 20-yard shuttle at 4.19 seconds. Brian, real quick, kind of explain for a tight end having that elite shuttle time, what it says to coaches, like that, because he's in there with some wideouts and stuff where it's kind of like, whoa.
Well, you talk about being able to change directions. It's going to come in handy on if there's some sort of scramble drill when the quarterback's in trouble, being able to change directions real quick and get to a spot, get open. It's going to be handy on those angle routes that you had talked about in episode 2. Things that he has really shown out on film already, that he can show one thing and then all of a sudden he's cutting across the middle of the field into that void. And once he gets the ball in his hands, he's so good at making people miss and breaking tackles for a guy his size. So, I think that we're definitely looking at, like I said, his stock's definitely rising after that combine performance. And, talking about the shuttle, but also talking about the broad jump, I mean, there's a lot of, when we think about blocking from a tight end position, the explosiveness for the broad jump, a lot of that is tied to, the explosiveness at the point of contact when you block. So, those things definitely show that he's got that explosiveness and ability to, like we've talked about, finish blocks and be able to, make really good contact at the point of attack.
Absolutely. So really interested to see, I guess it'll be about a month here, his pro day down at Virginia Tech. And then kind of see where he gets interviewed. The combine, everybody can interview you, but it's those sort of second ones where teams might fly you out because it's like, we need to know more. I'm going to be interested to see how that happens for him over the next 2 months here.
I think Curtis wants a trip to Santa Clara. I don't know.
Yes. Well, I mean, I looked at Kyle Juszczyk. I'm a 49ers fan. I'm Hokie Nation. And he is similar numbers to Juszczyk. Now, Juszczyk was a fullback in college, where Dalton was more of a tight end H-back. But some of the stuff he does, I can see it translating to us, but we don't know. Brian, did you catch the Brock Hardhat series?
I did.
What'd you think, man? Love the production. Again, let's get the personalities out there.
So my biggest takeaway and what I loved from watching that, and I was tweeting about it, I know some people caught on to that, but just things kind of going south in terms of his eligibility and how he really pivoted to being that off the field leader last year for that team. And that's what really stuck with me doing all that, because that's hard when you're used to playing and you're used to being the guy that is out there in the alpha role and showing it on the field and showing it on game day, and all of a sudden you have to take a new role. The fact that he was able to blossom into that so fast and gain all the respect from guys in the locker room, right out the gate, that says something about his character and says something about his ability to lead. And the fact that we're going to start getting some of that on the field this year, it's got me hyped.
Agreed. And something else that I want to say about Brock, me and Brian luckily had an interaction with him at the Pitt game. After the game was over, we sort of walked down behind the Virginia Tech bench, just kind of sat there, dapping up guys, me and him chit-chatting, looking around. And Brock is, if you can remember, Brian, he was probably, I don't know, 10 or 12 feet on the field. So
maybe even
distance
further,
away.
and actually probably past us in terms of
Yeah.
a field of view.
And me and Brian screamed.
We called out free Brock Hoffman.
And he stops and he like gives us the thing and he stops again and he came over. He took his time to walk all the way over. You know, we sort of said, hey, you know, good luck next year. You know, we're glad you're here. He dapped us up, gave us a couple minutes talks, and then walked in. But when you have something like that, where he could have just did the fist bump and did that made our day. Him walking over and talking to us at Kids Special, that group is going to be nasty because I think his mentality, you saw some, I think it was Silas, right? Or
yeah.
You can see in Silas, like these guys want to go kill people, to put it lightly. And I think him coming into that group, the competition is going to get higher. And I think the group was very good last year and very young. I think we're going to be, I'm not going to say elite this year, but we're going to be borderlining on that if everybody takes the steps.
Coach Weiss, I mean, he's really going to have some options because he's going to have about 6 or 7 guys that have seen significant snaps, whether for the Hokies or in Brock's case for Coastal, just coming in and guys that he can lean on and just put together the best 5 out of that experienced group. And that's going to be something that, you know, he really didn't have. He hasn't really had during his time in Blacksburg. So I'm excited to see what the finished product is going to look like. We've got so many young guys that played significant snaps last year. And then we've got a couple of veteran guys, you know, anchoring the tackle positions. So I'm really interested to see how they end up shaking out the starting 5. But, I mean, having 7, like I said, 7 guys that have starting potential going into the season is pretty incredible.
Yeah, and that's going to make the depth great, and that's going to make the competition unbelievable. One more thing before we get into today's topics: the California to VT movement, and I'm gonna say my perspective was like this. I saw it. We given offers. That's cool, you know. But then, there's some Midnight Madness. Some guys showed up. I'm like, that's cool. Probably 2 or 3 guys. No. Brian, you looked a little closer and you texted me. You're like, nah, dog. How many?
Man, it was a whole busload, man. They were just. I was like, I didn't even think that was something that we would see. Like I said, we heard the quiet rumblings and things on Twitter. We're like, okay, California to VT, and all of a sudden, you know, we got this whole crew there in Lane Stadium at Midnight Madness. I'm like, oh man, that's some special stuff, and you know, they're getting, you know, likely from that perspective and experience that they just can't be replicated anywhere. I'd say definitely not in the Pac-12. So, you know, right out the gate, that's got to be a big impression on them, and we're kind of putting our best foot forward with that. It'll be interesting to see where it goes if we land any of them, one of them. I mean, at this point, stretching our footprint, you know, is not going to hurt. I mean, casting a wider net, you know, we get some more recognition across the whole country versus just in our region. So I don't think it's a problem there, especially since we're starting to see some of the recruiting resources climb a little bit, which, as we have said in a couple episodes past, that's definitely something we like to see. So,
absolutely. All right, so guys, what we're going to be looking at today is we got CA to VT, but we're going to be looking at Virginia. We're going to be breaking down kind of the overall what recruiting looks like in Virginia this year, where the elite talent is, some of the names, things like that. For what we consider the elite of elite guys, 4 guys in the top 10, Brian did some video breakdown. So, you know, this is going to be thinking about guys that play and live near you. We're going to give you some more info on them. So let's start that out right now. Brian, the 2021 Virginia high school class, there's only one word for it. It's elite.
Big time, man. Big time.
So, as I started kind of looking through some of the recruits and where they are, I wanted to kind of give a breakdown, like, who are the Hokies recruiting? Are we not offering guys? Because after 2020, we didn't get anybody. We got one guy in state, Lakeem Rudolph. And now it's like, well, what's going on? Why aren't we recruiting the state of Virginia? Well, last year just wasn't an appealing state, or wasn't appealing in state. This year, let me just say, looking at some of the numbers, it is definitely, we are trying to get the state this year. So I'm looking at just the top 20, Brian, and
Okay.
we have offered 14 of the top 20 players in the state.
That sounds more like a Virginia Tech recruiting push in the state than what we saw last year.
Absolutely. I mean, 70% of the class, all varieties of positions. So, I think last year, again, like kind of like the 2020 class in general, it was just that weird cycle. And I think we're back to more of what we do in the state. Now, looking at these 20 guys, and again, just to kind of throw you the difference between last and this year, 7 of those guys are in the top 247. I've told you guys before, I think 247 Sports does a great job. I think how they break the guys down, how they rank them, how they're consistently moving them up and down based on their skill level, their size, offer list, and so on. But there are 7 this year in the state. Compared to the last year, I think it was 2? The top 2 guys were in the top 247.
Yeah. So we were looking at the 2 guys that we whiffed on last year were the only 2 that really cracked the 247 there.
So right now, you guys kind of wondering, well, so we've offered 14 of the top 20. Who didn't we offer? And want to give you their names, positions, and where they are, just so you maybe get an idea. Is it a position we're already committed on, or are there bigger dogs out there as we look into this further? The first guy I'm going to look at is Trenton Atkins. He is out of Clintwood, VA, Ridgewood High School, a 6'1", 195 athlete. I'm just looking at that body frame type, and that tells me probably wide out or defensive back. Doesn't give the full breakdown. Next guy is James Gillespie, 6'2", 300 pounds defensive tackle out of Woodbridge. Body type seems there, not offered yet. Again, there are things probably behind the scenes we don't know. We don't know their grades. We don't know the fit, but not offered yet. Another one, Trayvon Green, 6'7", 367-pound offensive tackle out of Colonial Heights Life Christian Academy. I would say, just looking at his size, not seeing any tape, he sounds like more of a motor grader type offensive lineman. As you know, Brian, from looking at a lot of the tape, we're not looking for the huge lineman to push the pile. We're looking more athletic guys. Next couple guys, Nate Evans, 6'1", 175, again listed as an athlete out of Cox, down in VB. He's already committed to Tennessee. I don't have his commitment date, so my apologies for not having the research there. But again, you see that fit, you think defensive back, wide receiver. And Jay Wolfert, 6'1", 200-pound dual threat quarterback out of Richmond Benedictine, already committed to UVA. So out of the 6 guys that are in the top 20, 2 of them have committed. A couple of them are athletes at positions that, as Brian, you can see what's on the board this year, we might have already thrown a number of offers out. What do you think?
I think the big thing is the number of offers we already thrown out at those positions, and combine that with fit. I mean, I think that's going to be the biggest thing as far as those guys that we didn't offer, particularly some of the defensive backs. We're already looking at a couple guys at the top of that list at that position. The further we get down in the top 20, I don't think we're going to necessarily just keep offering guys down the list, especially in the same state. And then the quarterback that's at UVA, regardless of that situation, we had a very early commitment from D there, so I don't think that's really any comparison there, and I think we got the better end of that exchange, so I'm not concerned about that at all.
Nope.
So yeah, I think we're looking at probably a combination of fit, maybe some personality things that just don't quite mesh, and obviously guys that we have maybe already made offers to that are a little bit further up the totem pole for us in terms of what we want to do.
And you say what we want to do because and again, I've looked further than the top 20 in VA. There are some guys 20 to 30 range. The biggest one is Jalen Stroman, Greg Stroman's brother. He's offered. Are there guys in that 20 to 30 range in the Virginia that maybe fit what we want to do, and we've offered them versus the guys in the top 20? Maybe per our coach's eyes, these guys fit better. And we'll look into
big
that
time
further.
with Stroman there. I'll say with Stroman, because when we're talking about what we're trying to do, we have really started to hang our hat on, at least at the skill position, versatile players. Whether it's guys that can play, whip and rover, where it's guys that can play corner, safety. I mean, we're looking at trying to get more versatile on defense. When we look at offense, we're looking at guys that can play, do stuff in the jet sweep, do stuff from the wing, but also split out wide and just run your traditional route tree. So I think the versatility is what we've really been hanging our hat on from a skill position perspective. And so I think some of that's trickling down into some of how we're recruiting some of these players.
Oh, absolutely. And I think you're 100% right on that. The other thing I looked at, Brian, we as a state, everybody likes to beat their chest, right? 757,
Oh, yeah.
Nova, us here in the 804.
Oh.
We're the best part. And this year, you look at the top 20 guys, and it's crazy how this breaks down. But you're looking at, of the top 20, 7 are from the 757, 6 are from the 804, 6 are from Nova, and 1 is from the southwestern part of the state. So what this tells me, we all like to beat our chests about where we live and the kids that play there. But what this tells me is the state of Virginia is a well-balanced state. There are talented guys in every corridor, and leave no stone unturned. And as we've seen through, kind of the offer list, they're not. They have offered guys in every sector. So does that shock you in any way, Brian, from coaching in the high school ranks? Or this is what Virginia is? We are a very well-balanced state.
And it's gotten more so, I'd say, in probably the last decade or so. In the last decade or so, I've really seen Nova and the 804 really step up their game relative to what used to be going on with 757. Now, the 75, I don't think there's been any drop off in 757. I just think that those other regions have started to catch up a little bit, and they're really giving 757 a run for their money. And so I think that's what you're seeing, is that there's a lot more balance across the state, as you said, in this prospect game now. And I think some of that's just coming from the 804 and Nova catching up on some of the things that the 757 was doing 10, 15 years ago. And I think they're starting to do that in the 804 and starting to do that in Nova now, and it's really paid some dividends.
Yeah, 100%. And also the guys who are coming back, you think Lauren Johnson over at Highland Springs. You think about the Lewis guy going down to Varina. There are guys who have played at different levels that are coming back to the 804. And they're going back to the 757. There are guys up in Nova, great coaches. But you're right, Brian. It has kind of trickled. And I think that's good for Virginia Tech as a program, because if it's all over the place, there's no one hotbed. So for us, it's get the guys you want from those particular areas. Now, I'm going to say this. I said at the beginning, elite. You want to hear how elite, Brian? About
Let's go for
the
it.
top 3 players in the state. So the top 3 players in the state are as follows. They are Tristan Lee, the offensive tackle up out of Nova. He got a huge bump recently. He is the number 4 offensive tackle in the country. In the country, not in the state, in the entire country. And I know, Brian, you're going to do some breakdown in a little while on these guys, but let me just more elite part of this class.
Oh, yeah.
Travion Henderson down at Hopewell. This guy's the number 2 running back, not in the state, in the country.
In the country.
And That's per 247. Rivals put Henderson at 1 a couple days ago. So,
Yep.
again, elite. And clearly the top dog, number 1 in the state, number 1 cornerback in the country, number 6 overall in the country. The Joker, Tony Grimes, number 1 in the country. Dude, all 3 of these guys are top 20 in the country. Literally, what that is saying is for any of these 3 guys, if you get them, it's almost perspective of day one, they're going to come in and play.
Oh, yeah.
In a high capacity. So, Brian, now there's one other guy, too, and I just saw this a few minutes ago. You know Naquan Brown's now the number 10 defensive end in the country?
That's crazy, man. That's crazy.
So we talked about it earlier, in one of our podcasts. Last year wasn't a great year for the state. This year, elite of elite. And what we're going to move to here is Brian has actually looked, the 4 guys I just mentioned, Brian has actually looked at the tape and done a little scouting report. So we're going to move on to that next. All right, Brian, let's start with Naquan Brown, Ocean Lakes, VB, 6'3", 205 defensive end. What'd you see on his tape?
All right, so the biggest thing I'm seeing about Naquan Brown, we're looking at an elite edge rusher. He can get off the ball, and he can beat you with speed over the edge. He's really strong relative to his weight, actually. I saw him take on a number of double teams on tape. Never seemed to get overpowered on those, even giving up a bunch of weight. The biggest thing that I liked was when looking at running game, especially when he was on the backside, is that he was really good at getting flat and fast in rush pursuit from the backside. So he was able to walk down a bunch of plays going away from him because of his pursuit angle, because of getting a really good read at the snap of the football. So piggybacking on that, he diagnoses plays quickly, he attacks, and he trusts his instincts. He did a really good job of knocking the offensive lineman's hands down on pass plays. Plays fast but disciplined. He's going to need some weight probably to be an every down player at the Power 5 level. But I think out the gate, you could probably see him as an immediate contributor on special teams and probably some select packages on defense.
All right. Now, when you're talking about the hands and stuff, so you feel technique-wise, football IQ-wise, he's there?
Yeah, so he's definitely a guy that knows both knows his technique, but also has really good instincts and is able to put that technique into practice and plays really fast.
All right, well, let me ask this, because the weight is the concern. 205, you don't see any guys at the D1 level play at that weight. July is a big camp time, so that's about 5 months from now. Where would you want to see his weight be at come July when he comes to maybe the Tech camp or some of the other, since he's a more of elite prospect, going to the Under Armour camps, going to the Rivals camps? What would you like to see his weight at in 4 to 5 months?
I'd definitely like to see him at least put on 10 pounds in that time. If he can get up to the 215, maybe even 220 range, I think we're looking at, moving in the right direction. Especially considering he hasn't been in a college weight program yet, and that, once he gets to Blacksburg, we'll be good to probably put on another 10 pounds at least over what is being done now. But I think if he can get at least 10 more on him, before he comes in, that would go a long way to helping his prospects as far as getting on the field year one.
Understood. All right, next guy I want us to take a look at, or you took a look at, I should say, probably a guy he'll be competing against potentially in some of these camps. And for us Hokies, we hope they're competing, next fall against one another in camp. Tristan Lee, the offensive tackle, the guy got the huge bump this week. Robinson, secondary school, Fairfax, 6'5", 275. What you see on him?
Looking at his tape, there is nothing that I could really point to and say I don't like that. I mean, this guy can really do it all. So the biggest thing I saw right out the gate, he has a nasty gene. This guy is not happy until he puts the guy he's blocking on his back. He finishes blocks. He has great drive block technique. He does a good job of making contact with power and then keep running his feet until his man's finished. What I also liked is that on down blocks where the play is going off of him, he does a great job of spreading the holes. So he's not just blocking the man in his gap; he's moving the defender out of the gap, creating a bigger hole for the running back to get through. That's the biggest things I like from a technique perspective. When I was looking at his film on Hudl, I didn't see a ton of pass pro because the offense that he is in high school, they run a lot of wing T and pro set, and occasionally we'll go to like a spread option run offense when they go in shotgun, but they don't do a ton of passing. But I did go and look at some of his rival camps tape, and he's got a really good pass set. He has a great punch, so he stops the momentum of the defender. So moves his feet well. So like I said, really there's nothing that I could say bad about him, especially as a prospect coming out of high school.
Let me ask this concerning, you talk about the nasty gene and finishing blocks. When you see or when you coach guys who wouldn't finish blocks, unlike this guy, where does that concern you? Where it's not a concern for this guy, but maybe there's some other guys we're recruiting that you don't see that. What concerns you when you don't see a guy finishing?
Well, I think the big thing is that you don't want a guy that's just going to get to his spot and be happy with area blocking a guy, because eventually that guy's going to keep going and try to make a play downfield. Now, when you're talking about a guy that's finishing a block, that means they are taking that player out of making a potential tackle, whether it's at the point of attack or whether it's 10 or 15 yards downfield. So if he's finishing the block, that means that guy is not able to make a play.
Something else, as an offensive line coach, not seeing – you saw the tape, you said you felt good about the way he looked in Rivals camp, but does it still give you some worry about not seeing a guy with a lot of live action pass pro where I do say in these camps he can kind of see what's coming, where compared to in a live game, if they run a stunt or if they run slants, a little different than knowing, well, this guy's either going to try a bull or he's going to try to, bend and get underneath me. Does that concern you, or is it more he's so refined at the running aspects? He's you see, he plays hard. He come in, this is what we can work on.
Well, he seems to be a guy with a high football IQ from the tape I'm watching. He doesn't look like he's ever out of position or anything like that. So I'm thinking he can pick up on, pass protection call nature that would come into play if there are those stunts and blitzes. But yeah, you're right. There is the concern of this guy probably hasn't seen a ton of looks where guys are coming at from multiple angles at him. So that could be an area of concern. But just looking at the tape, when you're looking at these rival camps, generally the drills do kind of favor the defensive lineman more because there's more room to work than there would be in a normal game situation. And also most of the time, the defender knows either the snap or can anticipate the snap. It's not like a live game. So offensive lineman is a lot easier in those situations, and he's still out there handling some of the guys that are elite at that defensive end position. So that gives me, encouragement. So like I said, the biggest thing is going to be, can he figure out those calls on the fly? And I think he can, based on just looking at his tape and knowing that I think he's a guy that can pick up things pretty quickly.
Great. Thanks for educating us on, about the way some things that are done at those camps. So when we look at it, we get an idea to say, okay, doing the right things, or the guys we're looking at are doing the right things. All right, next, number one corner in the country, Tony Grimes, Princess Anne, Virginia, 6 foot 180. Sounds like a perfect corner to me. What do you see from the Joker?
His nickname might be the Joker, but this kid is no joke on the field. He has a nose for the football, and that's what we like to see in Hokie Nation. That's what the lunch pail defense has always been about. That's what Beamer ball has always been about. Nose for the football. And once he gets the turnover, he loves to take it to the house. He's not somebody that's going to settle with just getting the turnover and, first contact, he's going down. He's trying to get into the end zone. So that's what we like to see. He's got a great blend of size and speed. I know you kind of talked about the size there, and the speed is there as well. he's both fast and quick, which is what you like to see because he can move laterally. He's got fluid hips, so he can change direction well. He lined up all over the secondary on his high school team, corner, nickel, safety. So he's a very versatile defender, which is what we've been talking about. We like to see some versatility, guys being able to, attack from multiple positions. The guys being able to blitz from the corner position, blitz from the safety, blitz from the nickel. So this is a guy that can do that for us. Good at setting the edge in the run and a willing tackle when the scheme is calling for him to set the edge. He does a good job of squeezing the gap and forcing the action back inside, so he doesn't get pinned in to let some of those big runs get to the edge. He played a lot of offense too, so that means he's probably got some pretty good hands, which means if the ball's thrown in his direction and he's there, he's going to catch it. He's going to make that play. Everything I saw, he was really great in man coverage. He gets in the receiver's pocket and stays there. When he does occasionally get fooled, he recovers well. Think about a Kendall Fuller when he did get fooled. What did he do so well? He got to the recovery spot and was still able to make a play on the ball, and that's what Tony Grimes does when he does get fooled. But again, from what I'm seeing on tape, that's a very rare occasion as well. So nothing but good things about him, and I think we're going to see some really, really incredible play from him, whether we end up landing or he goes somewhere else.
All right, where do you want him to play if he commits to Virginia Tech?
He's definitely a corner.
Okay.
Maybe eventually a boundary corner.
Ha.
Hey.
All right, but you see from him day one, if whether it be Jermaine Waller or Caleb Farley, I think one of those guys will be there next year. I don't think both, but you see him coming in, competing ASAP with the respective other side of the corner. He's that good. He's that technically sound. He's that much of an elite player where, similar to Kendall Fuller, Brandon Faison coming in, freshman, playing right away and contributing right away.
He's too good not to have him on the field a good majority of the snaps on defense.
It's awesome to hear.
You're probably going to be doing yourself a disservice not getting him out there.
That's great to hear. All right, let's go with the last guy on your list, Brian. Trevion Henderson down at Hopewell in the 804, 5'11", 195. Is he every offensive lineman's dream to block for?
Yeah, he's the guy that patient at the point of attack and reads his blocks well. So he's not just going in there, whatever his aiming point is, sticking it in there. And sometimes, as an offensive lineman, things change at the snap of the ball, and he does a very good job of changing with that, going with the blocks, reading those blocks, and then just exploding through the hole once it opens up. He's got home run speed once he's at the second level, which is what we like to see. We like to hit those long plays. We like to make some big plays on offense. He's great at making people miss. So he runs through arm tackles, and he's good at turning nothing into something, which I think is sometimes important for us, especially with the scheme that we have. There's going to occasionally be penetration, and he does a good job of making people miss and finding the lane or the alley even when that point of attack gets shut down. Great at change direction and accelerating. He was also used in the slot a lot for his high school. So, I think you're going to see a guy that has the ability to do, swing passes, screens, run a wheel route, things like that. He's a guy that definitely is used to catching the ball. He also ran some of the wildcat formations for them in goal line situations or short yardage situations. So he's comfortable, with the ball in his hands at the snap as well. There wasn't a ton of highlights showing, straight up the gut run. So I'm not sure how he is kind of on those inside zones in between, the outside shoulder of the guard through, into the center. They mostly were running some outside zone and sweeps and things of that nature. So he did run more inside when he was doing the wildcat stuff on the short yardage. So in those aspects, he can run, up in those A gaps and get the job done. But I did see a ton of that when they were running their more traditional offensive sets.
All right, let me ask this: with him working in the slot, is something that we can use to our advantage in recruiting? Talking about the jet sweeps, I mean, is that something to say, Trevion, you come here, you're going to get the carries from the backfield, but we're going to give you an opportunity here your first year too. You're going to be our slot. You're going to be one of our slot guys taking some of those sweeps. And we've talked about a couple times when those sweeps are blocked correctly, a guy with home run speed, good night.
Exactly. And I like the points you make there, because I think that's going to be something where if we're not in a situation where we can say, hey, we can guarantee you're going to be our number 1A back, but you're definitely going to get some carries. You're going to be at least have a featured role of the offense, even if it's not something that is that 1A role. So I think that's going to be key in terms of trying to get him to stay home.
I see. So Brian, can we land all four of these guys?
I think we can. I think we have the potential to do that. Now, we are getting some major run on, especially on Grimes and on Henderson. Clemson's making a big push at Henderson, and Georgia's down there is pushing really hard for Tony. So those are going to be our two biggest opponents for the top two guys there. I think we've got a really, really good chance at Naquan Brown and Tristan Lee. I think those are the guys that I feel really comfortable with us being able to close the deal on.
How important is it to getting the first domino to fall, to landing all four, getting one of these guys to commit, let's say, between now and the middle of summer? How big would that be to landing all four?
I think that would go a long way, because it would build on what the kind of that momentum that we got when Demetrius committed. Yeah. We would start seeing some of that tidal wave start pushing in our direction, and people start saying, it's not just a one-off. We've got all these big names are starting to say, hey, I want to go to Blacksburg and make something special happen this year. Now I'll throw this one at you, man. Do you think if we land at least two of these guys, is that good enough?
No, it shouldn't be good enough. Landing two shouldn't be good enough. All four should be the target. These are four guys in state that we've recruited what it appears to be very well so far. Each position, let's just kind of go through each position. Always need edge rushers, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You don't have enough of them.
Yeah.
Tristan Lee, he's an offensive tackle, and some people say, well, that's our strength. We have a lot of really good players there. One of those really good players is Christian Darrisaw. Christian Darrisaw has another season like he did his first two. He will not be around 2021. He will be in the NFL.
I agree.
Tony Grimes, it's a similar situation for Tony. If Jermaine and Caleb continue their trend, one, if not both of those guys will be in the NFL next year. And there it is. You want to start, here's your prime opportunity. In Travion Henderson, we don't have a 1A back. Even this year, we're looking at Herbert and probably King. Herbert's gone after next year. So the playing time is there. I don't see this as a situation where we're so loaded at any of these four positions that should be on the table. Landing four should be the target. And I'll probably be dissatisfied if we land just two.
Okay.
And
okay, that's fair. Can I throw a little factoid at you though?
Go for it.
All right. So I'll throw this out there. When was the last time we landed at least two of the top 5 prospects in the state of Virginia?
Well, it hasn't been recently. I'd say 2007, Tyrod.
All right. So it was actually 2009 was the last time.
Oh,
so
God.
that was Logan and David.
Hold on. You weren't married. I wasn't married. We had no kids. We didn't have houses.
Yeah.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah. So this isn't a recent trend with us not being able to land the top 5 talent in the state. This is something that goes back a while. We actually had back-to-back years. So 2008 and 2009, we did land 2 of the top 5 players in the state. And then we haven't been able to do it since. I think before that, I can't remember the last time we landed more than 2, to be honest with you. I wasn't able to find the stats on that. So if we end up landing 4, it wouldn't just be, really damn good. It would be something that's pretty much unprecedented in the last at least 15 years of Hokie football history. So while it's definitely something that we want to set as a goal and try to achieve, it would be fairly unprecedented if we were able to pull it off.
But I think we could probably go back and look how many times has it been 4 guys at 4 various positions. It's not like 2 defensive backs or 2 running backs where we're not going to get both of these guys. And I really think and I'm going to say this in the sense of college football, ACC football, we land all 4 of these guys and take back the state. The way we're starting to create a nationwide footprint down into Texas, if you guys haven't seen the last few days, we're making offers to guys in California, which is just unprecedented for what we've done throughout our lifetime as fans. But to take back your state and that could say something, not only to the kids in state, but potentially to a more nationwide audience of, you don't go in there and take the top dogs. If they've got spots where they can play, you're not going to get them. So that's what I'd like to see happen. And
essentially get back to where we were 03, 04, 05, where we pretty much, if we wanted them and they were in state, they weren't leaving.
Exactly. So we'll move on. So we're going to throw out a Twitter poll. And the question is going to be, because of all the elite talent high school-wise in the state of Virginia this year, are you more likely to go see a high school football game where one of these guys are playing? And not just the guys we discussed, but there are guys all over the state. So respond to us. Tell us where. Tell us who you look forward to seeing on that. Well, that's going to wrap up this episode of the Boundary Corner podcast. We'll let our buddy Jason Long play us out. We always ask you guys, check him out on Spotify and Apple Music. My name is Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
Thank you guys for listening. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook. And as always, let's go.
Hokies!